Our guest for today's episode is Janardhan Massar. Janardhan is an architecture undergrad from Manipal University and has previously worked as a UX designer at Lollypop Design Studio. He is currently working as a product designer at Unacademy. I am Mayank Khandelwal and you are listening to Whiteboard.fm. Hey Janardhan, how's it going, man?
Hi, Mayank. Everything's doing good. I'm doing good.
Awesome. So, can you introduce yourself?
Sure, I will. So my name is Janardhan, and I'm a product designer at Unacademy. And I have a undergrad degree in architecture from Manipal University. And as soon as I graduated, I shifted to UX UI design. And I started doing self-learning courses through you could say Udemy, IDF, and based on that, I got a little hint of what problem solving is through design. And a couple of problems that I face in my own life, I started to find solutions to them, not through apps or websites, just through solutions, just literally solutions of how we could real world scenarios like parking, finding pets, looking for pets, finding a house. These very basic things that if I was not in the industry, I would never know solutions are already there. So I made a portfolio quickly, and then I found out that getting into product companies is much harder than agencies. And I took the plunge of letting go of my architecture degree, but still the fundamentals of design is still same, which I'll come to later, how they're relatable and how I could easily transition into that. And I made a portfolio, sent it to one of the design studios, one of the best design studios. I would say that's I'd recommend if you really want to get a feel of the different industries in design. Got in as an intern. Within a month and two, I got converted to a full time because when your hunger is there, you would want to learn much more than everyone else, and that effort will be seen and recognized. And a couple of one and a half year there, and then I got myself into a product company, and that's where I am right now.
Awesome. So Janardhan, let's deep dive into each aspect of what you just shared with us, right? So
sure.
Starting from how you took the transition from architecture to UI UX design, right?
Okay.
So as an architecture student, what made you feel like taking the plunge to UI UX design? And when you decided that, hey, I want to do this, what steps did you take? Like you mentioned in terms of building a portfolio as well, right? Can you let's deep dive into that.
Definitely, for sure. So I'll just take one step back and say from architecture what I've learned. Okay, so in architecture, it's all about designing for people. You're designing spaces or buildings for people. If you do not understand people and their pain points or what they're looking for, you will never be able to design a good building. And especially if you don't do the research behind it, the literature study, case study, find the pain points from it, and accordingly derive a concept from it, solving those problems faced by them, pain points for them, accordingly, your building will be well designed. Going with the same thought process, same problem solving ability, UX design follows a very similar thought process in that way. But the thing is, in architecture, I wanted to create a much bigger impact than just for that specific set of people localized in that specific area. Suppose if I'm designing a hospital in one area, it's just for those people in that area. But I want to have a much more bigger impact, and also the problems that I want to solve a little bit more, I would say, humanized problems versus space problems. So just when I was experiencing products at that time, I felt really good that some of these apps and websites are solving my problems. I'm like, how did they do that? Like, what was the thought process? And I was taking these courses, and I was like, wait, this is the same user flow, and this is the same conceptualizing and wireframing is more or less the same. And ultimately, solutions also you can verbally say it, but except that the solution when it comes out instead of a building product, it's just in the form of an interface design pattern that solves that problem. And just like how it's so detailed in the interface, the copy, the spacing, and it's the same in architecture that when you do a CAD drawing in AutoCAD, that's basically the skeleton of the building, which is like you could say the UX. And once you put the concrete, the cement on top, that's basically UI. You're filling it up. If the UX AutoCAD drawing is wrong, whatever UI you put on top is just going to be wrong if you didn't study your users properly. So yeah, the steps that I took, I could say now coming to that question, since I had a very clear thought process in my thesis and I did really well in my thesis in my college, that helped me think very clearly and try to explain and dissect things in a very simple language that I can explain it to somebody who's very advanced and explain to somebody very, you would say, junior. Coming from that, I did these courses online from Udemy and IDF. I tried to formulate my thinking in terms of UX and UI design, made a portfolio showing that clarity in thinking of problem solving. Now, my UI was not good at all because I was mostly on the UX background. I was stressing on the UX background. Now, if you can communicate that in your portfolio in the form of solutions to a problem, and also I would say it's a bit of luck, and also they were looking for somebody. So it was just timing that when I sent my portfolio, it just hit a couple of notes. The HR got back to me. She told me this is the assignment. Now that assignment was an actual UX design assignment that really piqued my interest. I had to design a home automation app. Now, for me, that's the first problem statement I've ever got. So I was like, wow, okay, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this. But the thing is, when you start thinking about certain constraints about, like, say, for old people or people who can't see well, how would you do it? For us, it's fine. You download the app and tap the buttons, it's done. But for them, can they comprehend certain patterns? Can they think of certain things? And if they can't see well, colors becomes a problem. So how much color do you use? Do you use contrast and background to do it? So I gave all that psychology and thinking in it. And also I studied the people. Suppose I took use cases of somebody who's living by themselves, somebody who has a family, and also grandparents. So these three personas, I just took it out and I explained to them that I've given solutions for all three that work good for all three. And yeah, it went through, and he called me. And in the end, once the co-founder calls you, it's literally the culture fit, whether you're open to learning, whether you can take pressure, whether actually that pressure part doesn't come, that comes with every job. I would say there's no job without pressure if it's worth doing. And I would say just the attitude. If you face difficulty, whether you have a positive attitude towards a negative attitude, that will greatly dictate whether you're a culture fit for them. And I just kept an open mind. I'm willing to cry. I'm willing to sit 12 a.m. because I was that hungry to get into the industry. So once you show that and a little bit of luck and stroke, I think you can get in any design studio for that matter.
Nice. And also, so Janardhan, can you give us a walkthrough of your portfolio?
Okay, yeah, definitely. So I'll talk about one of my most notable projects I've done in Lollypop Design Studio. So this client was from Singapore, and she has a medical product, which is a chatbot in the form of a chatbot. So her mission or her goal when she came to Lollipop was to test few features, which she already had tested in the Southeast Asian countries. Now she wants to test it for India because she is going to come to India and launch it in India and all the hospitals. Now, this product is basically a messaging platform for doctors. Okay, it's named BotMD. It provides information on drugs, drug interactions, medical calculators, guidelines, protocols. Basically, what doctors keep as books and information, and which they have to recall, study throughout their medical studying journey. How do you remember all that, or how do you quickly access it? I know there is an internet, there is a website, but if you are on the phone and also you have to communicate that with other doctors quickly, how would that happen? There is no product that exists right now, and she has captured the Singaporean market. Many hospitals are using her product. So she came and she wanted to do a user testing in 3 to 4 hospitals around Karnataka. And what she wanted to do is she wanted a team of two, one UX researcher and one UX UI designer. So I was the UX UI designer, one researcher. Her name's Prithvi. Yeah. And so the objective was to test three features. One is the quick commands feature, teach the bot feature, and search feature. So the thing is, now that we have an understanding of what her goal was, we had to figure out what kind of doctors we were to test it on. Now, the older generation of doctors will say no, and they are not in that, you could say, target group who would be open to using a medical product or even an app. If you see, even in the older generations, are very receptive to using products. So we targeted basically upcoming doctors who are very well versed with technology, who want to get things done quickly, who want to find a more efficient way of doing things. So yeah, we found medical residents, independent consultants, junior doctors, and also how tech savvy they are is medium to high. And they mostly use like WhatsApp, Messenger, Telegram, and they use the platform Medscape to get all the queries done. Now, from these three products, we could dissect a pattern that they have keep seeing in WhatsApp, Messenger, and Telegram. Now the question comes, why? Why these three main products? Let's come the assumptions. Okay. Uh, so WhatsApp and Facebook are the bare minimum apps we find on almost every smartphone of current day and age. Okay. Now the generation is more acquainted with using internet for a variety of reasons. Okay, as more services have moved from offline to an online platform, right? Now all hospitals are doing it. It is not efficient to keep a file of a patient. If that file goes, the patient's record is gone. How do you preserve that if the patient keeps coming back? Coming from this entire understanding of digitalization of hospital, these are the few assumptions we made. Based on that, then we had to figure out how do we conduct it. Now, I know research is something that people might just go and ask questionnaire, but there are stages to it. There is a pre-testing questionnaire that before you ask them, there's a testing questionnaire and there is a post-testing questionnaire. So the pre-testing questionnaire is before you basically even begin the research, you need to ask them certain things like their age, designation, clinical years of experience, what smartphones they use, Android or iOS, messaging platforms, sources or references they use for medical information, and what they use for storing catalog. And then the middle stage is the testing questionnaire, the main testing that how do we conduct it. So we had a set of flows that we wanted them to do, but also keep it very open for them to try and use it. So these are the couple of things that we wanted them to access in a certain way, and there are different scenarios. And with every scenario, we tell them that, hey, there's a certain set of features. We want you to accomplish this goal through this scenario. Can you do it? And that scenario has a design pattern, right? So how it happened was, if you could see here, is using a screen sharing product on the phone. We would give it to the doctor, and on the Mac we would record his using. And as the doctor is using it, we record all the sessions, and we could see certain things that they could resonate with, certain things was not working. And just after every session for that day, we have written it all down, and we would ultimately synthesize it into a consumable format of what our findings were. And if there is a certain, I would say, certain patterns that you see that is common across board, that's a very good thing that we say, okay, this is a problem prevalent among all. Then we had to basically prioritize between high effort, high impact, low effort, low impact, and high priority and low priority. And once that was done, we could, and then this is synthesis basically. There were 12 doctors, and these were the different, you could say, specialties covered: ENT, intensive care, ophthalmology, cardiology, a variety of doctors from different backgrounds. This is the location. So 5 doctors from Bangalore, 7 doctors from Mysore. Age-wise, what was the age group that we were targeting? So we wanted to go more on the younger and also on the ones who are 26 to 30. The ones 30, 35 are good to have, just to have a good touch point. And what we could find, this is the main part, that this chaos of post-its through every session, the main problem with research is you find all this information, how to make it into a very clear, consumable format, right? Let's go now to our findings. Based on the technology side, on the tech side, they use Android. They're mostly Android users, yeah. And they use WhatsApp to communicate with their personal life as well as within the hospital. Okay, they send PDFs, they send X-rays, they have groups for certain wards. Okay, and they actually use SMS and calling. That's a very I was very surprised when they use SMS. So, and Telegram. So Telegram, one thing why they use Telegram is when they send PDFs, they can send large PDFs. WhatsApp has a limit, and also quality reviews. And Telegram also, you can quickly access the PDF. Few features like that. Then patient records, how do they do it? Handwriting. Suppose, Mayank, you go to a hospital or to a doctor, he writes a prescription there. The prescription comes to you, and if you lose a prescription, You can't call a doctor, hey doctor, I lost it. Like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
But imagine this completely digitalized and kept there for your record always. And what do they use for information sources? PubMed, Clinical Key, Medscape. These are something which doctors would know. And the concerns is that imagine there are 10 different sources of information which are all good for. How do I access the best from all 10? That's the problem. I can't open each book, I can't open each website, type the name, copy paste, and then see if it's all aligned, because sometimes there's a misalignment there.
Yeah.
Because this will basically save a patient's life, which is so important. So the weight of these findings is very important, I would say. Now, coming to that, so this was the interface that we had to test, right, at that time. And the quick commands. So the quick commands right now is something that they didn't understand, that a quick commands feature is here. So when the doctor presses on the quick commands right next to GIF, and a curtain comes from down showing the different kinds of quick command features. But now there were certain difficulties that you could see. It was not obvious that there was quick commands. Okay, it was quite hidden, and they didn't understand what is that button. It looked like a FB Messenger at that time. Some of them were saying the pattern. So certain features like that, and they could not recognize the ability to use the actual chatbot. Also, they thought it's one of the chats. And as we found issues on how to use camera, how to add multiple photos, this was a general pattern. It was an outdated experience of adding title, description, photos of patients, all of this. And also, like I would say, search. They could not search anything just based on the name. It had to be basically documented in the form of a hashtag. With a hashtag, you can quickly find in the search library and it will populate. So the improvements were, so if you would see these improvements, there was a small guide saying, pull to see my commands. So the moment you swipe up, basically the commands come down. Now, how do we know certain commands are like pre-filled and they're different from others? So if you could see there's an example of what you can write and the journal, which is basically the main quick command. So if you pick journals, and as a result, there were different kinds of quick commands below this, and you could clearly see, okay, this is something which I won't be able to type, and this is the part where I have to type. And as a result of that, it was working really well, and she loved the solution because the main thing was discoverability, which was solved in this. So the moment the doctor swipes up, all the commands are here, and they'll be populated according to the most used. And improvements also even to basically tag information. Suppose, Mayank, I send you something, just like how we have the star feature on WhatsApp. There is a quick, you could say, a starring feature even in this, which is teach the bot. So the bot learns this and documents it and keeps it for later. Then also features like how would we record information on a PDF, so that all these small UI improvements weren't there at that time. And I would say even for that matter, there's an improvement even on the search feature, that there are the most search terms, it comes in the hashtag versus just a blind search. And every single thing that gets saved, there's a hashtag for it. And even for that matter, even the attachment feature clearly labeled is also, So these are the improvements. I would say a lot more improvements are there, and this was done in 1 week. And the different onboarding, conversational onboarding also was there, which is quite nice. Actually, love. And I had to design the chat bubbles also as well. These are the very small things that as you do, you realize that everything can be done and to the detail. That's what makes a product stand out. And my takeaways has helped me discovering how different doctors use different ways of communicating. And I would say she was very happy and she went back happily. And now the product has changed so much because certain things were not working, but the core features, the solutions I've given are still there, and I'm really, really happy for it. So this is one of my Lollypop projects there.
That's crazy, man. And how many folks were involved in this project?
Just 3 people.
Wow. And you guys were able to do this in 1 week, in 1 week's time?
1 week. The co-founder, me, and the researcher. That's it.
Crazy.
Yeah, and there was a PM, but the PM was like mostly just there booking the hotel and everything, making our stay smooth and all. But the core study was done by 3 of us. And when you do projects like this, it's so fulfilling because her developers in Singapore, design the solution the very next day that we find insights on. So it
Oh
was an
wow.
iterative day process. And the solutions, that's the thing, the solutions have to be such that they were scalable and understanding the constraints of what kind of solutions to get. I think those in product world will know, okay, just a small thing is not just a small thing. How do you build that small thing?
Man, this is crazy. And also, this was the first project at Lollipop, right?
This was my fourth project. Fourth
Okay.
project. Yeah.
Yeah. Still, though, it's like it's very new, and like, when you're just starting off as a professional designer and you're doing this level of intensive work.
I mean, like it is pretty intensive. Yeah, really intensive. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Janardhan, let's can you tell us more about just like this project, right? What role did you specifically play at Lollipop?
Yeah, definitely. I would say. So, so in Lollipop, since it's a design agency, you get exposed to a lot of things, not just design. You get exposed to clients. You get exposed to the bosses of other products that they want to build. That gives you a sense of responsibility. And one thing at Lollipop, they just throw you in the fire. No hand holding. They throw you in the fire, you get burned, but then you come out with that burn stronger every time. So what happens typically is, yeah, we are working on a project, a client comes, then a client meeting comes, and the designer available along with the project manager has to go get the requirements, get to an understanding of what the co-founder or the company wants, and we send them a questionnaire based on the type of people, basically a UX questionnaire. Understand that, and then we send it back to them of our understanding of what they told us. So you understand something more is when you repeat it to the person what who just told you about their product. That gives you a strong understanding, gives them confidence that okay, this person understood. So we had did that. After that, we sent a proposal of how it's going to be over the weeks, and then we begin like user flows. Then we begin an information architecture, and then we ultimately begin the UX design, and then the UI design, and accordingly development as well. So depending on the requirement of the client, sometimes we designers have to go sit in the company there itself with them with the stakeholders, gather requirements, and then study and along with them design with them because sometimes some clients want to be hands-on on it. Some clients don't. So it typically depends on the client who is more tech savvy, would so there are clients who know exactly what they want. You have to listen to them. And sometimes you have to advocate also why sometimes okay and sometimes no, it's not the right thing. This is what's going to happen if you do it. Are you fine with that? And since it's going to be an internal tool, sometimes I don't mind because in the end, there are a lot of products out there following similar design patterns, but you can't see. But still, they're succeeding because they're solving a problem essentially. And one thing is, I understand that UX is always about the people, but I'm sorry, you have to give an equal cut to business. If you do not solve the business part of it, users fine, you solve the users, but like it's a cost factor. Like I can't keep solving people's problems if I do not know how to measure it with income or put a business side to it. And I think that's one thing that many designers will soon come to know with time once you join a product company that every decision is actually business driven with intention to solve a user's problem. That should be the thought process, my thought process. At least.
Nice. Also, Janardhan, while I'm talking to you, one thing I wanted, and I realized, or I'm assuming, is that you have not created a separate portfolio website or created a
No,
separate portfolio, right?
no,
And despite that, you are pushing through and you worked at a design agency and you worked at a product company. So, while as much as a portfolio is important, is what everyone says, if someone's running short of time, right,
hmm,
and
hmm.
really needs to make it through, and it's like, I need to do this, even though I don't have the time to make a portfolio, but I am skilled enough.
Right.
What do you recommend folks can do?
Okay, one very good lesson. I got burned pretty badly, and I'm getting burned pretty badly because of the number of projects I'm doing. Please document your projects. You finish any small project, please document it in the form of 2 to 3 paragraphs, the problems, the people, and your solutions to those problems. Just document that in the form of screens or in the form of a PDF. You can choose to export as a JPEG, put in your website. That also is fine, but document it. Now the thing is I'm trying to document, and the thing is the speed at which we went, I can't remember the reasons why we took certain decisions because it wasn't documented. My projects in Lollipop were properly documented. It's there in PDFs, right? So what I do typically is I understand who I'm trying to target or somebody who's asking me. I understand their context. If they want something very detailed oriented or want to know the design process, I show them, I said, come on a call, I'll share my screen, I'll show you how it happened. That's it. And also, if not, I show them my breadth of work. Now, the breadth of work is basically also, actually, I'm building my website. It will be coming out by at least, I hopefully by end of this month or by next month coming out.
Okay.
Yes, I'm building my website and Webflow. So let's see. And I would strongly recommend, yes, I'm a little late to the party of having a website, but every designer should have, whether it is now or later, you should always have one. That's your digital identity as a designer. Now, depending on whether you want to keep it up to date or not, keep your best notable work there, something which makes you you. That should be seen. And accordingly, you can change it, shift it, depending on the type of personality the companies are shifting, applying towards. And each of the projects also can be structured in the form of a Notion doc or something, depending on what experience you want to give the person who's trying to vet you out. And yeah, I've kept stuff in PDF, and depending on the person who wants to see my type of work, I make a keynote presentation very fast, quickly. Just put the screens, and just like I think you saw even the BotMD, that is actually one of the project structure that I've done.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was actually the website thing.
Okay.
And yeah. So I've done it in the form of frames, but that's the thing, right? That's a beautiful thing. It's done such a way that you can just scroll down. You don't need to do a website like coded. You can just share your screen, send it, or you can just send a JPEG of that entire thing. They can just scroll down. The goal is for them to understand your thought process. If it's UI, show your UI. If it's your problem solving, show your problem solving. And accordingly, shift and change. Now, doing it on the website may not be that easy, that quick, but on a Figma file, which I mean, it's solving design, why not solve even portfolio issues? Notion also doing that only. But yeah, I mean, it's quicker to do on Figma, shift the screens and give the flows there itself. So, I mean, whatever works for you, I would say this is working for me. But still, I'll say no. Having a portfolio is very important. I'm on it. And yeah.
Yeah, so exactly, like as much as portfolio, having a portfolio and keeping a portfolio website is the best to have.
Right.
From what I just inferred from you is that the main objective is to be able to showcase your work, make it very easy for someone to comprehend, and also break your work into exactly what you want to give them. You want to show a breadth of work, you want to show your product thinking, you want to show your visual design work, you want to show all of that. These components should be there in your work, and you have to think about how can you simple like collate
Make it
it
simple. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
make it approachable for anyone such that they don't have to make additional effort to get to know you. You can be like, hey, I've got it already, I'll just send it over to you.
Yeah. Because sometimes you have to just ask them. Even that is a UX problem solving. You need to ask them what are they looking for. It's like send portfolio. Now everyone just sends, but just ask them: is there any particular type of work you're seeing? Or in the JD you'll see that you will be responsible so and so, so and so, so and so. Or when you have the call with them, hey, can you tell me which project I'll be put into, or why am I needed? What am the problem I'm solving? Then you say, okay, I'll be sending you a collection of my projects that I've worked vaguely in that thing. Because over our lifespan as a designer, we'll be working on 1,000 projects. Now, what will you do over time? You
Yeah.
have to put your best, but also you have to put the projects that solve certain contexts also.
Also, which satisfies their interest, because if you're working
Yes.
towards a particular company and if you're showing them projects which is not in their domain, they won't see any value in you.
Yeah.
But if you ask them
No,
that, what are you looking for, and you send them the projects which are more intended towards that, it will give you a better upper hand, I feel.
Definitely. You should know who's vetting you out, see their background. Okay, they've been in this company. So if I send a project like this, he'll be able to properly, give me a good shot at it. Now, if somebody's from B2B and you send all B2C solutions, he'll be like, oh, okay. But if that person has been in the B2C space, he'll be like, okay, I'll give this guy a shot. I'll have a look. They will spend not more than 30 seconds to 1 minute if on your website. It has to feel very right. Now, how do you get that feel? Just look at other good portfolio websites. Certain aspects of it look very good. Mimic it, and see if it fits your structure, your character. And yeah, I mean, yeah, that's really important. That 30 seconds, 1 minute, people scan. People won't read. In that scan, they'll be like, "Ooh, what's this? Ooh, what's that?" And then it goes in.
Awesome. That's great, man. Also, one thing I wanted to ask is, which I'm not sure of, is that all this while, I've been discussing with folks about hiring processes at product companies, right? How does the hiring work at Unacademy in terms of product, Microsoft, all these other Swiggy, every other place. How does hiring work at design agencies? Is it different, or how does it go?
So the thing is, design agencies, right? They're more welcoming towards people who are designer, or the ones who have the eye for it or want to learn. Now, that learning can be precedented in the form of how you articulate your email, how you articulate your letter of how much you want to work with them, even your, I would say, portfolio. Even if it doesn't look like a UX UI design portfolio, you can see the amount of effort in certain portfolios versus other portfolios when they apply towards a place. Sometimes they send one article, one big article, but it's so deep and so in depth that wow, this person I really like. That's enough for a call. That's the goal, right? Your portfolio is not to get hired. No one hires you just based on portfolio. That's just to put you across the door, and then you get a seat at the table, and then you sell yourself. Now, what happens is there are a lot of people who are from college that mostly get into it. They're more receptive towards people who are very new and who have not learned anything. It's easier to learn fresh than unlearning something which you have learned. That's a very important aspect. Yeah. And I would say it's similar. Assignment to test you. Everyone who's new is an assignment is only one way you can test them really well. And also they will be testing you in a certain way that if you can grasp that, then yeah, then you're through. But if you can't grasp that, then they'll be like, okay. And if you're for a full-time position, they'll be like, okay, do you mind joining as an intern? They'll give you one more chance. Okay, as an intern, you follow one of the full-time guys and you work with them. That the full-time person will be, okay, this person's ready for a full-time position. That's how I got vetted out. I was basically helping out somebody. And that person said, yeah, he's good enough for a new full-time project. I got thrown to a full blast project by myself. I was scared. I made a lot of mistakes and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty good.
Great. That's great, man. I feel you've done so much in your journey at Lollipop itself. Like Unacademy, what was Unacademy like? What has it been like?
At Unacademy, I would say Abhinav vetted me quite a bit, and my UI was not good. I would say UI is not something to take it for granted. It is hard. Okay, everyone says just that button, that shadow, that thing. It is just that, but to come to that or when to use that takes a lot of time. And yeah, UI half of it is always hierarchy and text. And I got in, and then after that, it has been a journey. Yeah. I mean, product thinking, how deep it goes, how a small text, how a small interaction, how it affects millions. That is something which a product company will give you, which agency will never give you. And yeah, man, I mean, I would say from Chetan and Abhinav, you must have heard quite a bit. So it is a similar context of what they've said. But yeah, go to a company that really pushes you to the depth of crying, to the depth of being right in the corner. That's when growth will happen. Never ever be comfortable. When you're comfortable, that's when it's time for you to find something more challenging, or depends on your goal. But that's my philosophy. The moment you find something which is becoming a little easy, that's when you realize, okay, I need to go around people who are much better than me or something much more crazier.
Awesome. Can you give us a walkthrough of one of your projects that you did at Unacademy?
Yeah. So I'll give you a walkthrough one of the projects. So I was in charge of redesigning the test series and results experience. Now, Unacademy as a platform has courses that you consume of in the form of videos. And how do we test that learning that you take from those courses and those platforms in the form of tests and giving you a results experience? So I'll just talk about what was the objective when I got this project in around Feb March, right? Was try to bridging the gap between an offline test experience and an online experience, because all the learners are already acquainted with a certain test format, or even for that matter us also. When we give a test in the school, that was an experience. How do we bring that and elevate that to a better online experience? And also, in reality, when we give our test, we have to wait some time, right? Results to come, it takes time, and the results come in the form of subjects and numbers. That's it.
Yeah.
And if it is a mock test or a midterm exam, you get your answer script and you say recommendations to do this. How do you bring that entire experience to an online way of doing it? So why were we doing it? First, I would say is to increase the adoption. Simple, improve and increase the adoption of the test experience. And also at that time, we had undergone an entire redesign on our website experience. So we had to match that also with the current experience. Now, I would just give a small context that there are different kinds of tests which are upcoming, which have been scheduled. live tests, which are similar to live classes, and the past tests that if you are not doing a certain test, you can keep going back and trying and trying and trying, and you'll be measured based on those tries. And I would say there are certain conditions, are simple. Now, even for that matter, even in our timetable, you write the date, you write a certain schedule, but how do we keep that in your face saying that there's a countdown that, hey, in 10 days it's going to happen? And say if that I don't come back, there's a simple notify me. And there's certain details about the test, when is it due, how many marks, how many minutes, and how many questions it is. It's simple. It has to be this simple. And if it is live, it has been live for so many hours that there's so many hours left in that test. And if it's a past test, you'll get to know that, okay, this test doesn't have a timer. It's a design pattern recognition. Okay, there's no timer means it's not upcoming. It's not even live, so it's past. So just removing the timer gives that much, I would say, recognition that, okay, it's a past. And also, it's just you need to attempt it once or twice and you recognize it instantly.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are different data points as to where language is very important. Title of the test is very important. Date of commencement, duration, marks, question number. I spoke about. And yeah, this was the test interface. So we wanted to keep it very less in terms of like interaction. Keep you informed whenever you attempt a question. How many you have bookmarked or marked? There was a certain like even when you get a question paper, right? You tick mark every single question that you do. Some of them do that, and some of them you star mark or you circle it saying that, okay, this is a tough question. I will attempt it at the end or later towards the test. So that behavior is predicted into this interface in the form of bookmarking, in the form of attempting, in the form of if you have attempted or if you have seen. And yeah, if you want to see the instructions is something that is there, but it's not importantly, and the timer on top. And once you're done with your basically your entire experience of test, how would we help you dissect your results in the way in which it's important for you? So we had a pyramid scheme, which I don't have the diagrams, it's in a different file, that the first most important thing to you as a learner is your marks, how well you did, right? And the best way to do it is something that replicates a report card that says you earned these many marks, you got so many right, you were so many incorrect, and you missed this much. These are the four main metrics in which you can measure yourself, whether you're improving or you're doing worse. Now, there's another. Now, report cards, if you wanted to know who got first rank, third rank, you had to wait for the teacher to announce it and you had to go and see their report card, why that person got above me. We went one level deeper to show where your marks, the same metrics, your average against the average of the class, where do you stand, whether you're in the upper half or the lower half, and also with the topper, how far off am I from the top? It could be 1 mark, 2 mark, without actually asking the topper. So that information is here right now. And yeah, now once you've done that, what we would also show is many of the tests that Unacademy helps learners prepare for, it's a collection of subjects. For example, IIT is physics, chemistry, mathematics. Now, even in that matter, we went one level deeper that in physics, right? Or in all the correct answers you got, physics, chemistry, maths, which one did you get the most correct? Which one you got the least correct? Which one you got very barely correct? That will help you know and dissect that, okay, physics, I get a lot of them correct. I don't have to stress on it. Chemistry, I'm getting a lot wrong. So I have to stress in chemistry. Okay, I have spent too much time in physics, even though I have got a lot of marks. This will help the educator, when they're educating, help you strategize your learning experience. Because learning is not just a case of consuming, you have to plan that, okay, per question, 4 minutes, per question, 3 minutes. Whether I get it right, incorrect, or I don't answer it, I have to spend 4 minutes. Then only I'll complete. So it's an overall learning experience and improvement experience. And yes, we went again another level deep. How would we know topic wise how many marks you got, how many scores you got? This is something which is good to have, that if the learner wants to go, it is there, but typically they don't do it. They want to improve themselves. But it's a good thing to have, like even for that matter, even in mathematics, like algebra, integers, differentiation, those topics will all be listed and you'll know, okay, I didn't try probability. So probability will be zero, so I already know. But like say how much did I lose marks from probability in physics? You can go up and check. Oh, okay, if I attempted probability, I would have got, oh, sorry, in mathematics, I would have got that much. And yeah, I mean, and the reason why that was happening is because the existing experience was very sad. Like, if you see, it looked disconnected. The difference between an upcoming and live is very minor,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't going gelling well, the entire experience. Even for that, even the test taking experience, it looked disconnected. It wasn't showing me what I should do first. It was showing me all these different buttons. It was showing me this space that I should be focusing on. The timer also was on top. It wasn't going well. So that's the thing that even for that matter, even results for that matter. Okay, me as a result, okay, I want to come. Okay, I don't care about my rank, percentile, topper score is good to know, but I want to know where I did. That's the immediate thing, that expectation is like, oh, okay, this diagram. But this diagram shows a comparison, but doesn't tell me how much I got in that. And when you go closer, it's like, oh, it's this much. So there's a different design pattern recall at like every section. I have to put a cognitive load and see and realize that, which is not a good experience. Or I would say that should not happen when you want to quickly get to know how well you did. Even for that matter, this is just showing a gauge that, okay, physics this much, chemistry this much, mathematics this much, biology. I have to go 4 times my eye every time to compare. Why can't it be coagulated into one, or in the form of a chart altogether? Why separated? So for that matter, things like that, and negative marking, missed marking, it didn't go well. It wasn't gelling well. It wasn't basically,
There were a lot of things going on.
it was a lot of things. Like, you can see, you just look at this screen, like, okay, what's blue, what is this, okay, what this, that. It was turning out to be a very broken experience, I would say. Scannability, hierarchy, information disconnect, too many elements. So literally, like, that is what happened. And yeah, these were the simple components. So something that in designers you are trying to make reusable components that scales well for different contexts. So yeah, that's how I gave the solution for this, and right now it's live. Yeah, there was an adoption of 12%. Now learners, since they got results, they would want to share it with other people, because immediately they're like, okay, this is much I got in attempt one, you got in this much. Immediately in those first few numbers only they can see. And less queries came from learners about, hey, I couldn't find my results. My number is not right. I actually got something else. And that ultimately dictated to a better subscription revenue generation.
Man, increasing
And
adoption
yeah,
by 12% and sharing by 24 is huge.
yeah, but that was a spike, I would say. Now it came down because it's dependent, right? If there is a exam that's coming very close, right? And this is just for, say, IIT. So different exams at different points will have different spikes, that they would want to do tests at certain time. Certain times it wouldn't be. Yeah. So it has been always from, like, it goes down to all the time to 4, and then it goes back to 12, and then like come down to 8, 7. And also, like, you won't give a test every day. That's a scary experience. You'd give it maybe once a week, or maybe twice a week. So it's quite a lot, I would say. The free tests.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Easy,
that's
man. Like, I
one of
really
the
like
biggest
this. And
projects.
also, there's such a distinction between the two projects that you've showcased today, right? Your project that you did at Lollipop and the project that you did at Unacademy. In Lollipop, your work is revolving so much around finding information as well, right? And your work at Unacademy is deep diving into the so many nuances inside that particular feature
Right.
or inside the product itself, right? And these are different, two very different things. Like, you wouldn't be able to deep dive so much into your product itself when you're working for an agency, or when you're working at a product company. You won't be able to find relevant insights unless it's a separate research project of its own, right? Crazy. So what are, like, Janardhan, what are your learnings? What are the some of your learnings that you got from working at a design agency, and some that you got from working at a product company? Those distinct learnings.
Distinct learnings, right? Hmm. Uh, I would say ask questions. Yeah. I mean, in this world of design, at least for us designers, we'll always be kind of told what to do,
Yeah.
but never do. Never just say, "Ha, I will do." No, never. Take one step back. Say, "Okay, is this what you are expecting of me? Can you give me 1 hour? Can you give me 5 minutes? Understand what they want." Because me as a PM or me as a co-founder has a certain goal which I won't be telling you, because it may not come to me. I just want this from you, which will help me achieve that goal. But now, maybe me asking you of that may not be the right thing for me to achieve that goal. That's on us to ask the right questions. So even in the agency life, I didn't ask a lot of questions. I just kept doing, and that's one of the reasons why towards the end I had to change all of UX, because I realized shit, it's not achieving that goal. And same for that matter, even in product companies, asking the right questions in the form of metrics, in the form of what are we trying to achieve? Will this solution actually achieve that? Is this project even needed to solve that? Is it supposed to? Are we supposed to do this now, or do we doing this later? Why now? Why? What is the behind this? So that's one thing I would say. Okay, asking why, right? This is something that takes skill, is modesty and clarity in speech. This is something that you need to constantly talk, constantly listen to podcasts, listen to other designers for that matter, go for conferences, see certain designers why they are up there and why you want aspire to be up there. Many designers at a senior position don't actually design, they just speak clarity in thought. Even lead designers, even for that matter, head of designs, they don't design. Their job is not to design. Their job is to facilitate design among the designers. So understand how they handle, you know, clashes. Understand how they basically dissect problems faced not in design, but how the articulation of that system, flow of information, and in clarity in their articulation of speech, whether it's through Slack, through email. That is one thing which I've learned, is how to speak in clarity and modesty, and also being a very good team player. I'm sorry, you should know you are not an individual contributor, even if you were designated that. You are still working with other people, you are still working with developers. Please respect everyone. And respect given is respect returned. I strongly believe. These 3 to 4 major fundamentals as a designer. And these are designer as a person. And there is a rest that you have to practice certain things. You have to know the tools to achieve certain things. I'm not saying you have to know all the tools. If there is certain interaction that you have to know certain tools, learn just enough to do that interaction. And you know that. And then if someone says, hey, can you do this? Then you say, hey, give me one day. Let me just figure out how it's done. Okay, this is the software that you need. After Effects, we need to do this kind of different timeline, and use Lottie and export it and see this is what it is. Now, let me see the effort that took this much, this much, this much. Are you fine with it? See? So before you start, you need to say all of that. If you just start without asking them, telling them, informing them on such depth that goes, they'll say, "Oh, why didn't you tell me? It's taking so much time." Now, then the blame ultimately comes to you. You saying yes, and saying it comes to you in the end.
Yeah,
so it does. So it's very important that you have to do that. Have a time in a week that just figure out new products that come out. Just go through it, see something new, document it, take a screenshot, you say, hey, whoa, interesting. Even for that matter, like how UI sources, Mobin, these are all basically documentation products for design patterns, which is really good. I would say do it for yourself as well. You've seen the news, certain things Reliance Geo did, why certain things Cred did. Oh, go to Cred, see, okay, they've released a new thing. Unacademy has done something, Flipkart has done something, new features coming. Big Basket has done something, Licious is doing so well. Why are they doing well? Why did they get funding? What did they do so well that investors want to invest in them to get more money out of it? Try to see the underlying fact that even if a B2B software looks very boring and like it's just one page, but what is that one page solving?
understanding the business behind it as well.
Business, understanding the business is so important. I was like, no, users come first. No, users have to have the best experience. No, don't do dark patterns. I would say dark patterns is something of a very sensitive topic, which I won't take it here because I myself am in the crossroads sometimes. But as long as you're solving someone's problem and you are not tricking them into doing something else and them knowing that they've been tricked, I think it's fine. Just keep multiple steps involved, keeping them informed of what they're doing. It's perfectly fine. But yeah, learning the business, that's something that you will gain respect from the business, and hence you'll be given more flexibility to do what you want if you're respecting business ultimately.
Man, this has been great, Janardhan. Thanks a lot
Yeah.
for being a part of the interview. This brings us to
Thank
the
you.
end of it. What is your experience, man? What are your final words?
My final words are be nice and work hard. Take time to sometimes switch off. Now during pandemic, yes, a lot of us are in overdrive. Just switch off. I know it's very hard to have a switch off button, but sometimes just take a leave, take an off. There's a cool down period that Unacademy we do. That if it's a very intense project, 1 day is off, take that off. Myntra also does it. In Myntra's added 2 days holiday, I think, every month for them, for the designers and all, even PMs, I think, because the human mind, like Indian, we're all human. We can't be robots. We have human emotions, human love, human sadness, and we're all in different contexts. No one will understand you unless you are vocal about, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well. I need to take a break, and then only you can come back stronger.
Thanks for listening to this episode, and I hope you liked it. If you watched the entire video, drop a comment below sharing your favorite learnings from this interview to let us know. Subscribe to the Whiteboard.fm YouTube channel to check out other episodes and clips from this interview. This podcast is a part of the 10K Designers Network. You can check out other projects on 10kdesigners.com.